Welcome back to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Shakras, and today I'm going to be giving you a review of the MP-11. Now, a lot of people have been asking for a long time on my channel to review the MP-11. Do I own one? What are my thoughts on it? Can you please do a review on it? All of that and lots more. But the reason that I haven't bought an MP-11 up until now, and as I just said, I'm in my studio, I own this now. The reason I haven't bought an MP-11 up until just a few months ago was because the MP-11 is a very pricey instrument. It's not the most expensive stage keyboard you can buy. I think there's some out there from other companies that are like $4,000, but the MP-11 is around $2,000. I think the new SE model is well over $2,000, almost $3K. So that's a lot of money to spend on a keyboard, and I generally use these keyboards as practice instruments. My thoughts are that if you practice a lot on a keyboard and you wear one out, it's going to be a bit less expensive to get a brand new keyboard. You might even get a new model that has new features by the time you wear out the old one. And so buying a whole new keyboard would be a bit less expensive and a bit less time consuming than having a piano and wearing out, say, the hammers or wearing out the action and either repairing it yourself or paying a bunch of money to have someone come in and do it for you. So basically using a keyboard as a practice instrument is excellent because it keeps the time off of the studio pianos that I have, and also if I wear one of these out, I can easily buy another one for a lot less than it would take to, say, completely rebuild the piano action. Now, as you can see, I also have a Korg SV1 up here. This is also another one of my practice instruments. I used this a lot before I did this, and in the future, I'll be doing a video where I compare these two because they have a lot of similar sounds. They both have a Rhodes sound, they both have a piano sound, and both of them are really nice. So I'm going to be comparing these two, and also I'm going to be getting a really cool instrument here in the studio, which is a mint vintage 1973 Fender Rhodes suitcase piano. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a really cool instrument. I'm sure we all know the sound, and we all love the sound of a Rhodes piano. So I'm going to be getting that in the studio, and once I get that, I'll be comparing the sound of that to both of these, as well as the Rhodes that I actually have at the moment, which is a stage model. So if any of that sounds cool, you might want to think about subscribing and hit the notification bell to be informed of my future uploads, because if you like that, you might want to check that out when I get around to doing that. But let me start off the review here by just talking about some of the visual aspects of the SV1 and some of the things that I like about it, and then after that I will play it. I will go through some of my favorite sounds. There's about 40 sounds here, and then I think hidden away in this bank there's about another 90. I'm not going to go through all of them. That would literally take an hour. So I'm just going to go through like my 4 favorite sounds that I really enjoy on the MP-11. There's some really great ones on here, and there's also some that I don't really like as much, but my favorite ones I'll just demonstrate and show you why I like them. But first, I want to talk about what I like about the MP-11 as a whole, and my first thing I love about it is the build quality. This instrument is a tank. It weighs about like 60 pounds, maybe more. It's really heavy, and it's moved best with 2 people. You can carry it yourself, but it's very awkward. It's a lot easier with 2 people. But it's made of this really thick metal. You got metal up here on what on a piano would be the key slip. I don't know what you'd call it on a keyboard, but you got really thick metal here. The top of this is all metal. It's 2 pieces, and they're actually 2 different metal compounds. The one on the back is magnetic. The one up front isn't. Don't ask how I know that. But basically, you have 2 bits of metal up here that are the top of the instrument. There's metal on the back, metal on the front. Really sturdy. There's no give, there's no flex, nothing. It's really sturdy. You also have these little wooden panels on the side, which is a really nice touch. I've heard that on the MP-11 SE, those aren't wood anymore. Could be false, might be true. I'm not really sure. And I also know that the action on the new MP-11 SE is a slightly different model. It's the Grand Feel 2, and this uses the Grand Feel action, the original one, which also has Ivory touch, and I'll touch on that in just a minute. But I really like the feel of the action on the older MP-11, the one I have here. I've played a few moments, just a little tiny bit, on the new MP-11 SE, and I'd like to spend a bit more time with it to really get a better idea of what it feels like. But I think that the new Grand Feel 2 action is a little bit less accurate to what a real grand piano action is than the Grand Feel. Now, of course, it is just a simple mechanical action. It does have full-length wooden keys, but it still isn't quite what a real grand piano is, but it does kind of come close, and it's probably the heaviest keyboard action that I've ever felt. But just because an action is heavy doesn't mean it doesn't work well, and this action works very well. The notes trigger very easily. I rarely find myself dropping notes, and it works very well, and it's great to play really slow, quiet stuff, and it's also great to play really loud, fast stuff. I know that before the 2019 NAMM show, I practiced a lot on this with the Pirate song, so I could play it very well at the NAMM show, and that went really well. and I played really hard on this piano for a couple of days and nothing broke, which is really great. So far this instrument has been very reliable. I have heard people having issues with these keys breaking, and some of them have funny gaps in between, like this C right here is a little bit of a gap between the C and the D, but nothing's broken so far, which is really fantastic. Now, I just wanted to kind of go back to something I said earlier about the reason I bought the MP-11 and stuff like that, and why I was able to get a good price on it. And the reason I was able to get an excellent price on the MP-11 is because this was a demo model at a store. It was kind of up on a shelf and no one really played it, so it was pretty much in like new condition. There's some small cosmetic scratches on the screen, but it works fine. But it was pretty much on the shelf, up on the thing, and no one really ever played it. But once the new MP-11 SE rolled out, the store owner wanted to get one of those up on the shelf and get rid of this, so he sold this to me for a really, really great price, and so that's why I was able to get a good price on it, because it was the demo model at the store and it was also the older model at the time. Just wanted to mention that. I forgot to say that earlier, I think, so I wanted to mention that now. Now, I said I would touch on the Ivory Touch keys, and I will do that now. You're probably wondering if they feel any different than normal plastics, and honestly, they really don't. They look a little bit different. You probably can't tell that in the video, but they're a slightly more yellow color than standard plastics, which we have up here. They're a very nice touch on Kawai's part to make them slightly yellow. I never even noticed that until I had these together. But the feel of the plastics really doesn't feel any different. It doesn't feel any worse. It just feels like a standard plastic key. So as far as the Ivory Touch is concerned, it really doesn't feel any different, but it looks slightly different, which is kind of cool. I do like the texture on the black keys a lot. They feel kind of like a little bit gritty, and my fingers, I find, stick to them very well. These ones up here are like kind of smooth and not as nice. These ones down here are pretty great. So that is my thoughts on the action and the keyboard of the keyboard. It's heavy and substantial, and it feels kind of like a grand piano, which is what it's made to represent, but it also works really well, which is absolutely fantastic. One final thing I really like about the MP-11 is the pedal unit. I think it's probably the best pedal unit in the keyboard industry today as of making this video, so let me give you a close-up and show you just why I really like the MP-11 pedal unit. So this here is the pedal unit for the Kawai MP-11, and there's a few reasons I love it. First of all, it has 3 pedals, which is great. I know there's a few other pedals that have that, but this is it's nice that it has 3 pedals. You have damper, which of course does like a damper pedal. You have sostenuto in the middle and left on the left, the soft pedal on the left, which is really great. And what's kind of cool is you can apply these other 2 pedals to instruments that never would have a sostenuto or a soft pedal, such as, for example, a celesta or a Wurlitzer or something like that. So that's kind of cool that these apply to all the instruments on the instrument, not just the piano sound. They also have protective covers on them, which came with it. I just leave them on because, well, why not? I want to keep it looking nice because I really like this pedal. But one of my favorite things about it is, like the MP-11 itself, the build quality of this is fantastic. It does have plastic on the top, but it feels like thick plastic. It feels durable, heavy. I feel like I could punt it across the room and it would be totally fine. It feels really sturdy. There's no give. The thing weighs about 2 pounds, 3 pounds. It's pretty heavy. And on the underside, you'll see why. It's all metal under here. It's like built like a tank, just like the rest of the MP-11. This feels like really thick metal, and you also have these giant rubber feet, which I wish other manufacturers would do that, but at the same time that would make this pedal a little bit less special. These rubber feet do not move on most surfaces. On concrete they will, but on wood floors they move very slowly, and on carpet they don't move at all. You can stomp on this pedal as hard as you want and it will not wander if you're sitting on carpet, which is amazing. Pretty much anyone who's ever played a keyboard that has a loose pedal unit will know that many of them, if not all of them except this one, love to wander. You'll be pushing it and pretty soon your leg will be stretched all the way out. You can't see my leg, but pretty soon the pedal will be halfway across the room. That's not the story with this one, and it's absolutely fantastic. There's 3 cables in the back that come out, which plug into the back for the pedals, but I love the build quality of this, and I love the fact that these giant rubber feet do not move at all. In the comparison video between the Korg and this one, I'll show them side by side, and you'll see how chintzy other keyboard manufacturers make their pedals, but not so with the Kawai, with the Kawai F30 pedal unit. So that's just the pedal unit. Hope you guys liked taking a look at it. It's my favorite pedal unit in the keyboard industry that I've seen so far. So now you've seen all of the things that I really like about the MP-11, so now let's hear all of the things that I really like about the MP-11. And let's start off here with the default sound. When you first turn on the keyboard, you are greeted with the Concert Grand sound. Oddly enough, it doesn't say that it's like a Kawai Concert Grand or an SKEX Concert Grand. It just says Concert Grand. But regardless of whatever make this concert grand sound is modeled after, it sounds pretty good for a stage model keyboard. Some stage keyboards have a really, really annoyingly bright sound up here in the treble, and I'm finding that this doesn't. You can get that because you have a brilliance knob, and if you crank that all the way up to 10, then it starts to have that really annoying bright sound. But if you put it at 0, which is where it defaults to, it sounds great, and you can even turn it down to -10 if you really, really want a mellow sound. There's other things in the settings you can tweak too to make the sound even more mellow. So what I'm going to do is do the same things that I do on an acoustic piano when I review that. I'm going to first play my test piece that I wrote myself, and then play a Bach chorale hymn that everyone seems to love. So hopefully you guys enjoy hearing that on the MP-11. The piano is a very, very difficult instrument to replicate, much like really anything. I know that the Hammond organ is another instrument that's very, very difficult to replicate in any other way than a real Hammond organ. And it's the same thing with the piano. It's very difficult to replicate the sound of a piano without recording an actual piano and simply using that on the record. So the keyboard, it actually has a really nice sound, but like I said, it's difficult to really emulate the sound of a piano. And even on the best keyboards of today, you're still missing a lot of the fine little nuances that really make a piano what it is. Just the resonance of the soundboard and the strings and the way that all mixes together and becomes really wonderful. A lot of that is missing on really any keyboard, and of course it is also missing on this. But I think that it still has a really great sound. Like I said, I think it has a better sound than a lot of the other stage models out there. Like I said, the treble up here, it is bright, but it's not terribly bright. A lot of the recordings I hear online of other manufacturers' keyboards sound a bit more like this. Really bright and really, really fake. And this one here is a little bit toned down from that, and I think it sounds pretty good. The bass end on this is also pretty nice for a stage model piano. I think that sounds pretty good. Of course, it's not really as awe-inspiring as a real concert grand is, but I think it actually comes pretty close. So it's a fantastic instrument to practice on, and it would even be a good instrument to record on, just to make like a little demo recording to send to somebody and say, hey, I came up with this, what do you think? Let's record it on real instruments later, you know, something like that. But the piano sounds isn't the only thing the MP-11 does, but before I get around to those, I forgot I was going to play the Bach piece, so let me do that before we move on to other sounds. That's just another kind of a look at a different zone of the piano sound on the MP-11. But like I said, the MP-11 also has other sounds other than piano. So there's a bunch of piano variants over here. I won't go into that because there's a lot of them and they're all kind of about the same. But there is also an electric piano category that gives you, clavinet sounds and Rhodes sounds. And the first one that it defaults to on here is a really wonderful Rhodes sound, and I really love it on this instrument. I'm just going to play it and let it speak for itself because I really think this sounds awesome. That, of course, was a little bit of a taste of Riders on the Storm by The Doors, which is probably one of the most famous pieces ever written for the Rhodes, and I think that this honestly comes pretty close to the sound of a Rhodes. Now, when I get the 1973 Suitcase, we'll see about that, but for now, I feel, without having experienced a real Suitcase Rhodes, I think that this comes pretty close. I think the bass sounds pretty good. I do have a stage model Rhodes, and the bass on that kind of has that characteristic wobble sound that this really doesn't have. But it sounds pretty good to me. I think it sounds a little bit better than the other one, but I'll save that comparison for the other video I'll do. And I really like the treble on this. It sounds like a Rhodes treble. When you hit a note on a Rhodes, the note takes forever to die out, especially on this B. And that's true on here. Forever and ever and ever. You'd have absolutely no sustain issues at all. All the way up here. Just like on a real Rhodes. The real Rhodes has excellent sustain up here. And great presence as well. Now, I do find that in one of these octaves, I think it was this one, it seems a little bit quiet. Might have been this one, though. I thought the notes were a little bit quiet the other day when I was playing it. But overall, the treble on here sounds really, really great. You also have a bunch of other options. There's a reed electric piano like a whirly, which I think sounds kind of cool. So there's that, and there's a bunch of other options. One of my favorite sounds on here, though, is the celesta. I think it sounds absolutely wonderful. Let's make sure that's all the way up. Yeah, here we go. That, I think, sounds absolutely wonderful, and it really, really shines, and it sounds really cool. So the MP-11 has a wide range of sounds, but one sound that it does not have is any sort of organ whatsoever, which I find very strange. This has organ sounds, and this has a lot of wacky effects, including a rotary speaker effect, but no organ sounds to go with it. They're not even hidden in this 90 sound bank over here. There's no organ, no pipe organ, no Hammond organ, no any kind of organ, which is kind of weird, and it's a sound that a lot of people want. The Hammond organ isn't really all that portable, so a lot of people are seeking other alternatives and have been for many years, but this is definitely not an alternative because there is no organ sounds on here at all, and I find that very strange that there's a rotary speaker sound in the effects menu, but no organ sounds to accompany it. So I don't know why that's there. And another thing that's kind of strange about this is just the user interface as a whole. It came out, I don't exactly know when this instrument came out. I saw it first at the 2016 NAMM show, and that's when I knew I had to have one because I loved it overall. But the user interface is surprisingly primitive and kind of wonky and backwards and confusing. You'd think that it would have a touchscreen, but it doesn't. It just has this little teeny tiny screen that looks like it came off of something from the mid-90s or early 2000s. It's like pixelated and strange. I mean, it works, but it's kind of odd. You have these knobs that you use to modulate the values and stuff on here, but it works, but the user interface is a little bit clumsy, and I'm just kind of surprised that it's so primitive and so strange. That's probably my only real gripe about this thing, is the user interface. It's a little bit backwards and strange and annoying, but overall, I really, really love the MP-11. I think the action feels fantastic, and it's really wonderful to practice on. It's a bit lighter than most pianos, but it comes a lot closer than most other stage pianos do. The hybrid pianos from Yamaha and Kawai are a little bit closer than this because they actually use a real it's a modified action, but it has real moving action parts in there. But as far as like a slab piano is concerned, or a stage piano, I think this probably comes closest to feeling like a real grand piano, and it also has a wide range of really cool sounds. I didn't delve too deep into that because that would make the video be about half an hour long. Maybe it already is. I have no idea. But I just wanted to give you guys a review because many people have been asking for a very long time my thoughts on the MP-11. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, make sure to go ahead and give it a like. And if you haven't already subscribed, you might want to think about doing that because, like I said, I'm going to have cool comparisons between this and this instrument, and also a Rhodes when I get it, and also the Rhodes I already have, which is my stage model Rhodes. So I'm going to have a four-way comparison going on, or something. Lots of cool stuff coming up in the future here at the studio, as well as my standard reviews of really cool pianos and other keyboard instruments that I find. If any of that sounds cool to you, you might want to think about subscribing, and if you do subscribe, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.